Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. At this time, I'd like to call tonight's Legislative Caucus to order. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Mr. Fields.
Present.
Mr. Russo.
Present.
Ms. Pratt.
Present.
Mr. McGill.
Present.
Mr. Constantine is absent. Ms. Gatta is absent. Mr. Frazzoni.
Here.
Mr. Cuomo.
Here.
Mr. Paterni.
Present.
Ms. Osterlich.
Here.
Mr. Hess.
Here.
Mr. Hughes.
Present.
Mr. McDonald. Here. Mr. Jasinski.
Present.
12 present, 2 absent, 1 vacant.
Thank you. Clerk will read the notice of Legislative Caucus.
Please take notice that pursuant to Section 2.05 of Article 2 of the Charter of the County of Schenectady, there is hereby called a caucus of the Schenectady County Legislatures by the Chair, Anthony Jasinski, Sr., to wit. There shall be a caucus of the Schenectady County Legislature on Tuesday, September 13th, 2022, at 6:30 p.m. by call of Chair Anthony Jasinski, Sr., to be held at the Boys and Girls Club of Schenectady, 104 Education Drive, Schenectady, New York, for the purpose of filling a legislative vacancy created by the passing of Legislator Brian McGarry.
Thank you, Jeff. At this time, I'd like to open the floor to nominations to fill the legislative vacancy.
I would like to nominate Patty McGarry to fill Brian's vacant seat on the legislature for the duration of his term, please.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I would like to second the nomination of Patricia McGarry. It is my hope and desire that the members of this legislative body will recognize the widow's succession, a term used to describe the appointment of a widow to fill the remaining term of a deceased member. Thank you.
Thank you. The name is placed in nomination. Are there any other nominations to be made this evening? Legislator Hughes.
Mr. Chair, I rise this evening to place in nomination the name of Holly C. Villano. Holly has long served her community as a dedicated volunteer and as an elected official. Mrs. Villano, as do many of her colleagues, share the same values as her constituents. As a registered conservative, she has advocated for their interests through her participation in this legislature's majority conference, and our conference is stronger and more responsive because of her efforts. She began her tenure as an elected official when she was elected to the Rotterdam Town Board in 1997 and was reelected to a second term in 2001. Legislator Villano was elected to serve as a member of the county legislature in 2009 and took office as a representative of District 4, representing the towns of Rotterdam, Duanesburg, and Princetown, on January 1st, 2010. District 4 residents have consistently shown strong support in previous elections to the county legislature. 2013, when she earned 59% of the vote. 2017, when she earned 60% of the vote. And in 2021, she received 45% of the vote, losing only by 2%, which represents about 250 votes. Legislators Villano's service and contribution has made a lasting and undeniably positive impact on residents of the towns of Rotterdam, Duanesburg, and Princetown, and for that matter, throughout Schenectady County.
Thank you, Legislator Hughes. Is there a second?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to second the nomination of Holly Villano and just make a few comments in regards to Holly. I have known her when she came on the legislative board, when she was elected back in 2009, and she was elected during one of the worst economic crises these countries ever faced at that time. And I can say, along with some of the legislature who were there, that she was instrumental in part of the Ways and Means Committee in trying to get the municipality or county to solve our budget problems as we face that crisis for the next few years. And in making those difficult financial decisions back then, we can also say that today, it's another 2022, we're back faced with another financial decision. We've done well, in a sense, for the last year, but the economy is also tanking, as you can see what happened today. And I believe that she was valuable in sharing her opinions and her commitment and dedication during our caucus meetings and on the floor, and I believe that she's still valuable today to represent this legislative body and the residents in the various municipalities of the town of Rotterdam, Duanesburg, and Princetown. I believe that when I remember Holly, I can always think of her as one who served as a chair of the Environmental Committee and she was very outstanding then. She also served on the Veterans Affairs, and she was a vice chair of the Committee on Labor and Civil Service. And during Holly's term, she sponsored numerous resolutions and local laws which protects our county aquifer and other environmental assets enhancing parklands throughout the county, and also expanded protections for agricultural interests in the county and added many acres to the county agricultural district. Holly is a strong advocate for our county veterans and has fostered many efforts to recognize, honor, and support veterans, such as the expansion of the Veterans Memorial in Veterans Park, assisting in the purchase of a van to transport veterans to medical appointments, and proclaiming Schenectady County as a Purple Heart County, and most recently the construction and dedication of the memorial honoring the county's veterans, Vietnam veteran era. I still believe that her contribution over the many years has made a long-lasting and undeniable positive impact on our residents in the towns of Rotterdam, DeWaynesburg, Princeton, and also in Schenectady County. And with that, I give my second support of Mrs. Holly Villano.
Thank you, Legislator Fields. Mrs. Villano's name is placed in nomination as well. Are there any other nominations to be made this evening? Any other nominations?
Chairman, may I speak?
Mr. Como.
I second Patty McGarry's nomination, and Legislator McGarry was a great and wonderful man who was very loved and very well respected by his family and his community. I cannot begin to speak of how great of a man he truly was. He did all he could to better his county and the state, and through it all, his wife, Patty, was right there by his side. She has attended the legislator meetings in person and on Zoom throughout her husband's time in office, and even continued to do so after his passing. That shows her dedication and passion for what we do here. There's no person to better fill Legislator McGarry's seat because no one can better represent his views, his values, and his beliefs. The residents of Schenectady County, particularly District 4, strongly supported him, and I believe it would be an insult to them and their values to even consider another candidate. It would be an even greater insult to Legislator McGarry himself, a man who many of you personally told me that you greatly respected, even though you disagreed on politics. Knowing that this wonderful woman is ready, willing, eager, and more than capable of fulfilling her husband's commitment, to not give his seat to her, I believe would be immoral, unethical, and disrespectful, not to mention just plain wrong. It is often said in these chambers that we get along well and accomplish so much because we do good policies and we do good politics, and I strongly believe that. Well, I'm asking that tonight we put politics aside. I'm asking all of you to simply do what is right. Please support Mrs. McGarry to fill her husband's seat for the remainder of his term in his honor. I've also received letters from Molly Collins, which I believe you all received, who is the town supervisor of Rotterdam, who also supports Patty. I have here also a letter that Bill Wenzel, the DeWaynesburg town supervisor, asked me to read, if I may. Dear members of the legislature, I was deeply saddened to hear of the passing of member Brian McGarry. Our family was well acquainted with him for over 25 years, and he has been the sixth grade teacher for all of our children. They, as well as all of their friends, said many times that he was their favorite teacher. Recently, I learned that Brian McGarry's widow, Patty, has expressed the desire to fill this seat Brian leaves vacant on the legislature. I can think of no person that would better serve as a greater asset in that role. Brian and Patty shared everything. Patty was familiar with the role that Brian served, having attended legislature meetings both in person and virtual via Zoom. She, like Brian, has the passion and desire to do what is right and best serve all the residents of the community. It is the hope of myself and many others in our community that the board will appoint Patty McGarry, a warm, caring, and compassionate lady, anxious to honor the wonderful legacy of her late husband, to fill the remainder of Brian's term. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Bill Wenzel. I also had other people reach out to me. Barbara Watt, she asked me to read this as well. As Republican chair for the town of Duanesburg, I feel that this position should be filled by a Republican, as it was our seat, and I believe the idea that Brian's wife, Patty, having worked with Brian for years, would be the perfect person to continue his work for the community he loved. She is aware of the ideas and ideals he wanted to carry forth. Thank you for your consideration. That is all I have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion or nominations? Mr. Hess.
Brian McGarry has represented his constituents with honor and distinction, with his wife supporting him in every step of the way. Despite his failing health, Brian continued to attend meetings and serve his constituents by taking phone calls, continuing to attend regular meetings, and communicating as best he could with both his constituents and colleagues. There's no one in Schenectady County, and certainly no one in District 4, that can carry the legacy of Brian McGarry better than his wife, Patty. Patty has been instrumental in helping Brian continue to serve on the legislature by bringing him to meetings, attending them, and also was beside him while attending Zoom meetings when he was unable to attend in person. The appointment of Patty McGarry, the county legislator, would not affect voting majority, as the Republican conference would only maintain 3 seats. She would serve the remainder of his term with honor and distinction, as Brian would have. We all should honor Brian by appointing Patty, as I am certain he would appreciate it. Since taking office and attending our meetings, we all put party politics aside and focusing on getting things done, consistently investing in our community. We all have unique talents that keep this team getting things done. I'm very proud to participate in making Schenectady County the absolute best it can be. I feel appointing Patty is the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Nominations are closed. I want to ask the clerk to call the roll. Please indicate if you are casting your vote for Patty McGarry or Holly Villano.
Mr. Fields. Villano. Mr. Russo.
Holly Villano.
Ms. Pratt.
Holly Villano.
Mr. McGill.
Holly Villano.
Mr. Constantine is absent. Ms. Gatta is absent. Mr. Frazzoni.
Holly Villano.
Mr. Cuomo.
Patty McGarry.
Mr. Paterni.
Holly Villano.
Ms. Ostrowich.
Holly Villano.
Mr. Hess.
Patty McGarry.
Mr. Hughes.
Holly Villano.
Mr. McDonald. Mr. Jasinski.
To explain my vote, Brian was a very good legislator, committed to the people that he represented from District 4. I had known Brian since our days in Draper High School together, but I also know Holly Villano. Going back to the 1990s, when I was the police chief in the town of Rotterdam, Mrs. Villano was elected to the Rotterdam Town Board and was the public safety representative who I worked very closely with. And subsequent to her service on the town council, she was elected to the county legislature, as was I, and we ended up working together at this level. So our history goes back to, 26 years. I don't think you could find a more qualified, competent, caring, dedicated individual to fulfill the remainder of Brian's term, and I'm very proud to cast my ballot for Mrs. Villano.
2 votes for Patricia McGarry, 10 votes for Holly Villano.
Thank you. Holly Villano was hereby appointed to fill the legislative vacancy. I would now like to invite Holly to the well, at which time I would be very proud to administer the oath of office. Holly. So I see, right? Good to have this on. Are we on? Yeah. I see you have your right hand raised. Repeat after me. I, Holly Villano. Do solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution of the United States. Constitution of the State of New York
the Constitution of the State of New York
and the Charter of the County of Schenectady,
and the Charter of the County of Schenectady,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office
of Schenectady County Legislator
of Schenectady County Legislator
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you all so very much. It was wonderful to hear these words, these wonderful words. I couldn't believe it was me they were talking about, but I so appreciate it. And it's an honor for me to be here this evening, but it's also a very sad day. Brian McGarry was a wonderful guy. He was a good friend. He was a devoted legislator. He was a wonderful father, a loving grandfather, a loving husband. There's nobody better than Brian McGarry in my book. And he was an inspiration to all of us, and he will be truly missed. But standing here today, I truly appreciate the support of everyone, and I'm so thrilled to be a part of them again, and let's get back to work, and I appreciate it. And may Brian McGarry rest in peace eternally. Thank you so very much.
And that concludes our business for the Legislative Caucus. There is a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. Legislative Caucus is now adjourned. We're going to take a 5-minute recess, and we'll resume our regular meeting at 7:05.
Is there a
Oh,
button
here
on
it is.
that?
He turned his pages on.
Is there a button on the wireless microphone, or should it?
It should be on. I think Stan had it muted.
Where is she? She does know where Education Drive is, doesn't she?
Yeah. Well, she texted, and like all of her texts came through at once because I didn't have a signal. And then she said, GPS is 19 minutes. I'm like, there's no way it takes 19 minutes to get there from there. And so then I clarified where it was, and she said, I know where it is. Okay. Just trying to help. That's right. You're going to be reading for about 15 minutes. Yeah.
No, we gotta get on.
Yeah, we got to do
Well, I gotta follow you, so. Did I have something? Yeah, I don't know, taco salad
Okay.
is heavy.
Good evening again, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our regular meeting. Will everyone please rise for the invocation to be delivered by Father Stephen Yusko?
Let us pray. Good and gracious God, King of heaven and earth, we come before you who governs the world through your providential wisdom, and who has graciously bestowed upon the human race the great dignity of participating in your governance. Look kindly upon these legislators, chosen from among the people and duly elected by the people, for the people. In your mercy, grant them the gift of wisdom and prudence, so that they may know how best to care for the people that they have been raised up to serve. May you bestow upon them a love for truth and justice, and cast out from their midst all ambition and selfishness. Please, Lord, do not allow them to be dominated by and divided by ideologies and party politics, but unite these men and women together through the gift of an insatiable desire for the common good. Finally, Lord, cast your merciful gaze upon the souls of these men and women who have served in this chamber, but who have since passed from this life, particularly Brian McGarry. Having shared in your governance as faithful stewards in this life, may they now share in your joy for all eternity. We ask all this in your most holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Father. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Legislator Villano. Not yet. This past Sunday marked the 21st anniversary of the September 11th attack on our nation. In many respects, it is difficult to believe that so much time has passed since that warm, sunny Tuesday morning that started out like any other day, but which saw life in our country changed in the blink of an eye. I don't think that any of us will ever forget where we were on that tragic Tuesday when we heard the news that our nation had been attacked. We will never forget the disturbing images we saw on the news. We will never forget the feelings of sadness we all experienced for the victims of the senseless act, nor should we ever forget. As the years pass, it is important that we continue to remember this tragic day and ensure that future generations are aware of the events surrounding the attack on our country. We must always remember the innocent victims who worked in the Twin Towers and Pentagon, as well as those who were passengers on American Airlines Flight 11, American Airlines Flight 77, and United Airlines Flight 175. We must always remember the brave passengers of United Airlines Flight 93 who gave their lives in an effort to prevent further tragedy. We must always remember the brave first responders, many of whom made the ultimate sacrifice while selflessly putting themselves in harm's way to save others. And we must always remember the way our country came together as we all recovered from the senseless attack, If we don't, then we have failed to adequately honor their memory and the memory of all of the 911 victims, and we've let our attackers win. So at this time, I would like to ask all of you to join me in a moment of silence to honor the victims of the September 11th, 2001 attack, especially those with close ties to Schenectady County and the Capital District. Thank you very much. So here we are this evening. Before I get into some remarks, I'd like to ask my colleagues to go around the table and introduce themselves. Your county legislature is made up of 15 individuals representing all of the municipalities in Schenectady County, including the city. We'll start on my left with Legislator Hess.
My name is Eric Hess. I represent District 4, which is Rotterdam, Duanesburg, Princetown, Rotterdam Junction on the legislature. Thank you.
My name is Sarah Mae Pratt. I represent District 3, which encompasses Niskayuna, the Village of Scotia, and the town of Glenville, and I live within the town of Glenville and the hamlet of Alplos.
Holly Villano, District 4. I represent Rotterdam, Duanesburg, Princeton, Delancey, Rotterdam Junction, and I live in Rotterdam.
My name is Josh Cuomo. I'm District 4 as well, and I live in Princetown.
Hi, my name is Jeff McDonald, and I represent District 2, which is a portion of the city of Schenectady.
You said county legislator, sir.
There's always one in every crowd, right?
I'm Rory Flumen, county manager.
And my name is Tony Jasinski. I have the distinct honor of being the chair of this legislative body, and I represent District 4.
Jeff Hall, clerk of the county legislature.
Philip Fields, and I represent District 2. I'm the deputy chair. And you're sitting in District 2 at the present moment in this beautiful building here. So as Jeff had said earlier, we're representing roughly half the city, and this is the half that you're sitting in.
I'm Pete Frazzoni. I also represent District 3, Glenville, Glenville, Niskayuna, and Scotia, and I'm a resident of Glenville.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Michelle Ostulich. I also represent Legislative District 3. That's the town of Niskayuna, Scotia, and Village of Glenville, and I live in Niskayuna.
Good evening, I'm Rich Paterni. I am legislator in District 1. I represent a portion of the city of Schenectady, and it is a pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you to the Boys and Girls Club for hosting us tonight. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Richard Russo. I'm the second Rich of the group. I also represent District 1, and I'd like to thank Executive Director Shane Bargy for having us tonight. The work that the Boys and Girls Club here is significant in our community and the reach, and we have an additional support mechanism at Steinmetz Park in the north side of Schenectady, which is in our district, and Shane's team takes care of that park every day, and we're very grateful for that. So thank you for having us.
My name is Omar Sterling McGill, and I have the pleasure of serving with the two gentlemen to my left in District 1. We do serve a portion of Schenectady, and I do too want to say thank you to Shane Bargy and the Boys and Girls Club for hosting us, and I want to thank you for the continued work that you do with our youth and our young people.
My name is Gary Hughes, and I'm a legislator representing District 2 in the city of Schenectady, and I'd like to say welcome to District 2, because this wonderful new facility is an integral part of our support structure here in the 2nd Legislative District. I also serve as the majority leader of the county legislature.
And we are now being joined by Legislator Kathy Gatta, who can take her seat and introduce herself as well.
Did I miss anything?
Introductions, if you would.
Hello, my name's Kathy Gatta. I'm with District 3, Scotia, Glenville, and Niskayuna.
So this is your county legislature, and once again, I'd like to thank you all for joining us this evening, and I especially would like to thank our host, the Boys and Girls Club of Schenectady, for having us this evening. I saw in the paper this morning that the longtime director of the Boys and Girls Club, John Vaccaro, passed away. On behalf of all of us on the county legislature, please accept our condolences for your organization's loss, and our sympathies go out to the Vaccaro family. So at the legislature's organizational meeting in January, I propose taking our meetings to various locations throughout the county to make it easier for residents to access our meetings and to see what county government does for them. We're here this evening as part of that goal, and what better location to visit than the Honorable Karen Johnson Performance Stage and the Boys and Girls Club. Our selection of this location also serves another purpose. It gives us an opportunity to come together in a place that was critical to Schenectady County's COVID response effort, and to say thank you to the leadership of the Boys and Girls Club and our other community partners for everything they did to aid our community during those difficult early days of the pandemic. Back in the spring of 2020, Schenectady County had to respond to the pandemic on several different fronts. In addition to making contingency plans as to how to keep our employees safe while continuing to provide the vital services our residents rely upon, several departments had to ramp up activities to respond to the pandemic. One issue that quickly emerged was the increased level of food insecurity in Schenectady County. Grocery store shelves were bare, businesses and support agencies were shuttered, people were advised to isolate at home to avoid catching or spreading COVID. And we needed to devise a plan to get food to those who really needed it. After discussions with county staff and our partners in the community, a plan for a call center and food distribution program emerged. This building became the home of the COVID-19 Emergency Response Coalition, which encompassed all of Schenectady County and our community partners, with our community partners, was operational within days. Over the next several months, the coalition grew. We had over 213 volunteers and donations from several organizations, businesses, and the community at large. The team included county staff from several departments, including probation, the county library, engineering, public works, office of facilities, information technology, Department of Social Services, Schenectady Job Training Agency, the District Attorney's Office, Senior Long-Term Care, Sheriff's Department, Auxiliary Police, Emergency Management, County Clerk, County Finance, Board of Elections, Youth Bureau, County Public Health, County Auditor's Office, County Manager's Office under the very competent leadership of our County Manager to my left, as well as members of this legislature and our staff. Volunteers and donations also came from numerous local service agencies and community partners: the Schenectady Foundation, the Schenectady Boys and Girls Club, the Schenectady Community Ministries, the Regional Food Bank, YWCA, the City Mission, SCAP, the Bethesda House, the City School District, Schenectady JCC, Habitat for Humanity, Schenectady ARC, Union College, Save Our Streets, the town of Niskayuna, the town of Rotterdam, City of Schenectady, SUNY Schenectady, the Schenectady Arts Festival, DSIC, Discover Schenectady, New York Connects, the YMCA, New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, and also the New York State National Guard. There are also many individual county residents and businesses that donated time, food, masks, grocery bags, and the list goes on and on and on. What was done here was no small feat, and there was no one organization in the county that could have pulled it off on their own. But working together, we were able to accomplish something that was truly amazing. By the time we wrapped up operations here, we had racked up some pretty impressive statistics that I would like to share. There were 16,651 total deliveries, 7,837 unique households that were served, 27,367 hotline calls, 1,637 referrals to outside agencies, and 667 cars served at a mass food distribution event. And I say kudos to all that were involved. As the pandemic dragged on with spikes of cases and new variants, we didn't feel comfortable bringing the coalition members together to formally recognize them and thank them for their efforts. But now, even though we're not completely in the clear, things are beginning to return to normal. Several of our coalition partners are able to join us here this evening, so I want to take this opportunity to acknowledge them and thank them for their hard work. First, our host this evening, the Executive Director of the Boys and Girls Club, Shane Bargy. When we asked Shane if we could use his facility as our base of operations, he welcomed us without hesitation, without blinking an eye. Thank you, Shane, for your support of the coalition, for all that you do here in our community. Thank you.
Wow.
Is there anyone you'd like to introduce from your organization?
I do. I have 3 board members here this evening. I have Cindy Philippi, Tom Isabella, Legislator McGill. So we have 3 board members here this evening. And I would just like to welcome the legislature here in the new facility and everyone, especially if you haven't been here before. It usually is a wow moment when you walk in. This is not like a typical Boys and Girls Club that you'll see anywhere in the country. It's just really special. I wanted to go back to the pandemic for just a minute and talk about what we were all going through. We remember how horrifying those early moments of COVID were, and it sort of paralyzed the community and paralyzed many of us. But we knew at the Boys and Girls Club that we were, at the very least, going to do as many hot meals, free hot meals, out in front of our facility as possible. We didn't know how we were going to pull it off. We knew how we would pay for some of it. We didn't know how we were going to do it all. And it wasn't I felt like within minutes I received a call from the county saying, we have an idea. You know, this new facility had opened in January of 2020 and was shut down 2.5 months later for COVID. We had 250 kids here a day, and then it was nothing overnight. But I'm proud to say that this building never shut down because we started the meals immediately. It was within minutes, it felt like. We had the coalition building, like I said, the county, Jason in particular, the county manager, and then very soon after, Bob Crow of the Schenectady Foundation came on board, and things started really moving. Again, this was during the early moments when we were seeing refrigeration trucks on television, when we weren't sure whether we were all going to die, honestly. This is when you went home and you stripped down before you went into the house, before you carried it in. Scary moments. All these people, my staff, we all came in and did the work that needed to be done at that time. I'm sure that in 20 years, we're going to look back and say this was one of our proudest moments. It was really scary at that time. I'm so proud that this facility was able to house it when everything else had shut down, and all of the dozens of partners came in and helped us pull this off. I'm not going to lie, about halfway through the first initial months, I thought we were going to go bankrupt here because we did not lay any of our staff off. Anyone who wanted to work came to work, and thankfully there was some assistance. The PPP loans and things like that really helped our organization stay afloat because contrary to popular belief, we're not some rich organization on the hill here. We are an organization that goes, just like most nonprofits, hand to mouth. So having said that, you understand the stress that was on our organization and all of the organizations that stood up at that time when we didn't know when we were going to get paid again. Now, the state was down, all the contracts were down, no one was paying. So, to me, again, I don't think that I'm going to think of a better moment in our history where we all came together and pulled this off. In the end, the Boys and Girls Club did over 100,000 hot meals out in front of this building. The first 60,000 we figured out how to pay for. The next 40 or so, we got through the Schenectady Foundation. We had to go somewhere. We ran out of money. So, but again, welcome to everybody to this facility. We didn't know it was going to turn into a shelter. We thought it was a youth center. But we hope for, in future years, if something else, God forbid, does happen, everyone knows this building is here for the community. It's not just here for kids, although that's what it was built for. It's here for the whole community. And meetings like this and others, this theater has been used for so many different types of things since we opened. I can't even tell you. I'm so proud of what the facility has meant to the community. When we're all done here tonight, I do invite anyone who wants to walk around on a tour and see the whole facility in its glory. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shane. Another one of our partners is here this evening, and kind of piggyback on what Shane was saying, Executive Director of the Schenectady Foundation, Bob Carroll. Bob was instrumental in pulling together resources and organizations that were critical to meeting the needs of our residents in those challenging times. Bob, would you like to introduce members of your coalition who are here with you this evening?
Yeah, I think everyone, actually, one way or another. I see a lot of faces I recognize. But it was, as Shane said, I want to repeat what everyone said, but there's one thing I would like to really leave with everyone, including the legislature and all the guests here, many of whom are still part of this network that we've created in this community, is that Schenectady County is the envy of the capital region when it came to COVID response and recovery, and we're also the envy of the entire capital region in regard to our ability to collaborate together. That's not just within the social sector or within the nonprofit sector. One of the great things that, we've always been collaborative, but what happened was, as you said, Chairman, is there was no option but to work together. And we had to take barriers down between organizations. There's no more competing for resources. We're going to share, and there were remarkable phone calls that many people were on where agencies were saying, I need help with this, and another agency said, we can help you with that. We'll be over this afternoon, right? Or on all the calls that DSS hosted with all the shelters and remarkably coordinated all of the shelters in the city. I believe this is true. Paul, you could correct me if I'm wrong. I think there was not one case of COVID in the first year within our shelter system, which we did really well. We did better than any community in this entire region, and that is a tribute to this sense of collaboration we all have, this idea that we are one Schenectady, right? We are one Schenectady, and by joining together and just taking down barriers, that's all it takes. Just take down barriers, create trust, and let me tell you, there was immense trust that was established during this whole thing, and even though it was a terrible tragedy, people lost their lives, there are some really good things that have come out of this. And now it's like 2.5 years later. It's remarkable, isn't it? 2.5 years. This community is stronger today because of what we went through. The last thing I'll say is when you're in a situation like that, of course, you respond. I'm reading a book called Upstream. The thesis of the book is the United States in general doesn't do a good job of investing upstream. We are good downstream investors, meaning we're good at putting Band-Aids on things or responding to things after they've happened. We're not as good as other countries when it comes to preventing things from happening. And the one thing I would urge all our legislatures to do would be thinking ahead, what will happen if there's another disaster in the county or the region? Will we be prepared? And what will that look like? And I can assure you that, speaking for all of my colleagues in the social sector, we will be there and we will come alongside the county, the city, the towns in any way that's needed because that's just what we do. So I want to thank everyone for their service, appreciate your friendship and how hard you all work. Thanks.
Thank you, Bob. The early days of the pandemic, there was a great deal of uncertainty, as Bob had mentioned. It was a very scary time for all of us. I was very proud of the way our county workforce stepped up, despite their fears for their own health and safety, as well as that of their families, to continue serving our residents. I'm equally proud of our friends and partners in the coalition who selflessly joined us in meeting the critical needs of all of the residents as well. On behalf of all of us, kudos, congratulations, and we thank you. Next, we have several presentations to make. I'd like to invite Legislator Austerlich, County Manager Fluman, Commissioner Social Services Paul Brady, Director of the county's Office of Children and Family Services, Maria Calamarino, to join me in the well.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Austerlich. I'm a county legislator, and although I represent Legislative District 3, like I mentioned before, I'm also chair of the Health, Housing, and Human Services Committee. And so now it is my privilege to present a resolution tonight honoring Child Welfare Professionals Appreciation Week. I want to introduce to you Paul Brady, our Commissioner of Department of Social Services. And actually, would you mind introducing everyone that's come today so that we have names attached to what I'm about to talk about?
Yep, I'll be glad to, thank you. As Legislator Austerlich mentioned, I'm Paul Brady, I'm the Commissioner of Social Services. We have some of our staff with us this afternoon. I would like to introduce, first of all, Aurelia Calamarino, who is the Director of our Office of Family and Children's Services. She will be getting a Service Recognition Award this evening. And I should mention that all of these individuals that are being recognized with the department have been here at least 25 years and up. So these are staff that have been with us for a fairly long period of time. If you want, I won't go into specifics about how long people have been here. But Patricia Zich, Patty, would you like to just stand? Okay. Are you going to do the pins? Okay, why don't you come right over. Patricia's been with the office for 25 years. She's a caseworker in our family support. Diane, would you like to come up? Diane Sacchetti. Diane has also been with the office for 25 years. She is a caseworker, also in our family support unit. Nicole. Oh, they're up. Okay. Nicole Fondacaro. Nicole is also been with the office for 25 years. Nicole actually works in our adoption and home finding unit, and we certainly appreciate her service to the agency. Susan Farstead. Susan has been with the office for 28 years. Susan is a family assessment specialist with the office. She also works in our family support. Susan? Oh, there's Susan. Susan Armstrong is a supervisor in our Child Protective Service. Susan has been with the office for 30 years, done an outstanding job. Tracy Toscano is a senior caseworker in our adoption and home finding unit. Tracy has been with the office for 32 years. And I'm sure it seems like yesterday. Janice, you're next. Janice Corker is a caseworker in family support. Janice actually has 37 years with the agency, a long-serving employee. Deb Van Alstyne. Deb Van Alstyne is a caseworker in our adoption home finding unit and has been with the agency for 39 years. All right, Eileen. Come on up. Eileen Balanino. Eileen is a grade A supervisor in the office, so that means she has a lot of responsibility, and she's had it for a fairly long period of time, 42 years. Congratulations, Eileen.
I just want to say, first, I'd like to thank everybody for graciously inviting us here. It's such an honor. I wasn't going to mention the pandemic, but really that was a standout for child welfare. The state did not release us of any regulations, and these people in the beginning, we didn't know what we were facing, and they really selflessly took on the task, and there was very little complaining. And, you know, we certainly tried to keep them safe and said, you know, if you can assess safety of children on the front doorstep, that's great, but if you have to go in, you got to go in. And they took on the challenge. I had a boss once that said, never lose sight of the fact that you need them more than they need you. And I hope they know I feel like that. I'm inspired every day by how hard they work. And this is truly the backbone of the agency, because through all thick and thin, this is who trains generations of staff. This is who models the heart of loving the job. And I tell Eileen daily how selfish she is for even considering retiring, because she has such passion and such expertise is in this room tonight. It's just an honor to work with these people. They are the backbone of the agency, and they keep it through thick and thin running. And the last thing I'd say is it's family. We've raised our kids together. We've faced dark times, and we belly laugh together. And it's a joy to work with all of you, and I congratulate and thank you. It's an honor to work with you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. You guys are wonderful. Don't go anywhere, because there is a certificate for you. Thank you. We appreciate the time tonight. We certainly appreciate the recognition, and you guys are wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Aurelia, for your words. And yes, I know this is such an appropriate time to recognizing this department in particular, because you never stop. Not 1 second did you stop. And I hope you can feel the love and the appreciation from tonight. Standing ovation for all of your great work. I'm not going to read this, but hopefully you'll take this back to the office and be able to look at, because we do appreciate you on this Appreciation Week.
Have another round of applause for our wonderful staff and thank them for their dedicated service. Next, I would like to invite legislators Austerlitz, Russo, and Hughes to make our next presentation.
And this evening, we also have a resolution for recognition of the Holocaust Memorial that is being proposed. The creator, the visionary, is Dr. Michael Lozman, and along with Dr. Lozman is Mark Ehrlich. And Ehrlich, I'm sorry about that. Gronich, why did I? So sorry. Sorry. So the purpose of why we've brought them in to honor Dr. Lozman, his vision, and what has become just an extraordinary project is because in today's climate, there are so many threats to our democracy. We just need to look to Europe. We've got an aggressor who is violently taking over other countries unprovoked. We've got in our own country, school districts that are banning Mouse, a book that chronicles and teaches about Holocaust. And we've got folks in our own country that don't remember or know about the Holocaust. We've got people who deny the Holocaust, and hate crimes are on the rise. So this could not be a more critical time to have a project like this being talked about in our community, being proposed and worked on in our community. And I know that Niskayuna is proud to be its home. So I thank you, Dr. Lozman, for having this vision, for bringing it home to us, and for working through so many obstacles to really make it happen. So I'm going to hand the microphone over to my colleague, Gary Hughes, and he'll read the resolution.
Thank you, Legislator Austerlitz. This is a resolution supporting the development of the Capital District Jewish Holocaust Memorial. Whereas crimes against humanity occurred in Eastern Europe from September 1st, 1939 to August 14th, 1945. Whereas an estimated 20 million military personnel and 40 million civilians were killed by the Nazis as a direct result of Hitler's racist policies in concentration camps, extermination camps, casualties of war, Nazi human experimentation, and the Soviet Gulag. Whereas Nazi Germany, under the dictatorship of Adolf Hitler, was responsible for the Holocaust, which killed approximately 6 million Jews, more than 2.5 million Polish citizens, and 4 million others who were deemed unworthy of life, including the disabled, mentally ill, Soviet prisoners of war, Romani homosexuals, Freemasons, and Jehovah's Witnesses, as part of a program of deliberate extermination, in effect becoming a genocidal state. Whereas more than 3 generations have passed since the Holocaust ended, and with each new generation, the memory of the plight of the victims fades, the stories are forgotten, hate and bigotry rise, and the need for awareness and education increases. Whereas many people today are not aware or are losing awareness of the significance of the Holocaust on humanity, and the Holocaust is not taught extensively in the present-day public schools, and this Holocaust Memorial will serve as an important educational supplement to public school teaching. Whereas in a show of ecumenical spirit, the 2-acre parcel of land where this memorial will rise has been donated by the Roman Catholic Diocese of Albany. Whereas there is no significant memorial dedicated to remembering the Holocaust in New York State, north of the suburbs of New York City, and County of Schenectady would be an important, centrally located setting in New York State for a memorial of this significance to represent the Capital District. Whereas Schenectady County welcomes the opportunity to be the site of this memorial, which will promote a greater understanding of tolerance throughout the county, the state, and the country, and that this memorial provides an excellent means by which all can appreciate the history and legacy of the Jewish people and strengthen our strong association built upon a long-standing friendship and mutual respect. Now, therefore, be it resolved this legislative body supports the development of the Capital District Jewish Holocaust Memorial in Niskayuna, urges the state legislature and other government entities and the public to support getting this memorial built expeditiously. Signed by the entire legislature. Dr. Lozman, if you care to make some remarks.
I would. I want to thank you all for this resolution. The Holocaust Memorial is designed to educate against hate and prejudice and bigotry, and I know that we will make you proud of your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have one more ceremonial resolution on the agenda this evening, recognizing Hispanic Heritage Month in Schenectady County, and that resolution will be presented at a later date. We'll now move to our legislative conference and the Rules Committee to be chaired by Legislator Fields.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Rules Committee has now come to order. Our first item on the agenda is Rules number 63, a resolution honoring Hispanic Heritage Month of 2022 in Schenectady County. Knowing it's going from September 15th to October 15th is the time period from where we represent Hispanic Heritage Month. May I have a motion on behalf of someone? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The resolution has been moved. Resolution number 64, a resolution honoring Child Welfare Professionals Appreciation Week of 2022. And we had many of the workers from Department of Social Services here earlier this evening receiving their awards. And any other particular questions on this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Second, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution has been moved. Next resolution, number 65, a resolution supporting the development of the Capital District Jewish Holocaust Memorial. Any questions on that? If not,
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution has been moved. Resolution number 66, resolution establishing a standard workday and reporting of the legislature.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution has been moved. Resolution number 67, a resolution regarding a multi-year agreement with the Constellation New Energy, Inc. for electricity supply. And it's a 5-year contract. And who would like to talk about
Yep, so this is, these are our Constellation, our energy brokers. These are the folks that 2.5 years ago, we had large success with locking in 5-year rates for our energy buy. It's been tremendously successful the past 2.5 years. We've all seen energy costs rise, especially on this year. This piece is a second contract to reduce ancillary costs. Ancillary costs referred to state mandates that come down as governments and energy groups look to go towards solar, wind, those kinds of other mandated energy production modes. At some point, those costs get passed down to the energy bill payer, which includes the county workforce and the county, all of our buildings that obviously we're paying National Grid on. So this will lock in that cost for savings into the future.
Any other questions?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The resolution moved. Resolution number 68, a resolution authorizing the county manager to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Schenectady County Sheriff regarding the Special Deputies Unit.
So our special deputies are a patrol that guard our buildings, 388, 797, 3 branch libraries, DMV. These are our folks that are peace officers. There's actually been a change in what a peace officer means. It's now mandated 140 hours of training to, quote, be labeled a peace officer. Luckily, retired corrections people, retired police officers tend to be, have the criteria and all the trainings to be a peace officer. It's been a tremendous success in ensuring the safety in our buildings. We're looking to increase the pay of these, mostly gentlemen that protect our buildings. They are run through the Sheriff's Department. And again, this is the Special Patrol Unit. What we're looking to do, because when we first started this program 5 years ago, we locked them into what it would cost to pay a Special Patrol person 5 years ago. And so there hasn't been any pay increases for these folks. So the idea is to pair them with the corrections contract for part-time corrections officer at step 4, which is the $25.96 to pay these gentlemen their hourly wage to work our buildings for security. When looking outwards to see if this is something that makes sense to do, hire a private contractor, 5 years ago, the costs were between $25 and $30 an hour on our end to hire these folks. Those costs have dramatically risen. And the benefit here is these are our county employees, and they're under the supervision and command structure of our sheriff. So typically our sheriff works very well with all of our department heads, all of our buildings. So when there are emerging problems, it's just a fast, easy transition to ensure the safety of our folks in our building.
Any
So
questions?
moved.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Second, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution's been moved. Resolution number 69, a resolution regarding a multi-year agreement with the City of Schenectady for mechanical repairs and vehicle maintenance. I would say that John McPhillips.
Thank you, Chairman Fields. This is an exciting shared services opportunity between the City of Schenectady and the County of Schenectady, where the County Department of Works performs much of the large vehicle maintenance associated with the city fleet. We're talking fire trucks, we're talking dump trucks, those larger pieces of equipment and machinery. We started this process back in 2020, sort of in tandem with the sales tax negotiation, but because of the pandemic and other priorities, we sort of continued the old vehicle maintenance agreement until this most recent rendition was had an opportunity to be approved by the parties. It was an intensive effort on both the county and the city side, involving the county manager's office, the Department of Public Works, the Department of Finance, the county attorney's office, corporation counsel at the city side, the mayor's office, and the city's Department of Finance, as well as the Department of Public Works in the city. We came to an agreement where, for purposes of the billing arrangement, we take an average hourly mechanic rate, add on a 20% supervisory and other staff charge, and then we take the administrative costs associated with Public Works and proportion that out by the proportion of the mechanic hours in which our county staff are working on city vehicles. It's a significant savings for the city that would otherwise have to sort of bring that in-house or contract out. I think all parties were sort of excited about doing a multi-year agreement that ends sometime in 2028. So we'll have an opportunity to continue that relationship in an intergovernmental manner.
Thank you. I would like to say that this agreement in some form has been around since the beginning of time when Gary Hughes and I were here.
Mm-hmm.
And it was transformative for the city to have this particular savings, as well as the county picking up a second late shift to actually do its mechanical division. So it was big back then, it was over $1 million, but now things are averaging out. So we thank you for the hard work that the staff is doing to maintain this agreement, and all taxpayers save money. Any other questions?
Not really a question, but a comment, Legislator Fields. The annual savings will amount to about $700,000 per year for the taxpayers. And by way of reference, if you go back to 2004, according to the memo from our county attorney, the aggregate savings on this agreement are $12.6 million to the taxpayers of the city of Schenectady. So it's significant, and the quality of the work is good. I would move this at this point unless there are other questions or comments.
Mayor, second. Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution's been moved. And now we'll have one more resolution, resolution number 70, a resolution regarding a multi-year agreement with Ladell Marketing LP for Microsoft Computer Services. It's another, I guess, 3-year contract?
Yes, this is our annual, tri-annual agreement to renew our Microsoft Enterprise Agreement. We actually managed to readjust some of the licensing to expand services and save about $12,000 over the life of the agreement.
Thank you very much, Laurel. Any other questions?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, this resolution's been moved. And with that, Mr. Chair, the Rules Committee has now come to a close.
Thank you, Legislator Fields. It's now time to open privilege of the floor.
Yeah.
Any members of the public who are present this evening who would like to address us at privilege of the floor, we ask you to come to the microphone, give us your name and address for the record, and try to keep your comments somewhat brief.
Hi, Allison Marinucci, 2280 Nelson Drive, Niskayuna. Good evening. As I said, my name is Allison Marinucci, and I reside in Niskayuna. I come here as a community member, a mom, and a mental health professional. I think it's fitting that tonight's meeting is taking place at the Boys and Girls Club, an organization dedicated to empowering our youth. I am here to talk about the crisis at Ellis Hospital, the closure of our adolescent inpatient program. Many of you are intimately familiar with this crisis. Ellis's adolescent inpatient program has been closed for nearly 6 months, half a year. This is the only involuntary program in our region. As a mental health professional and a community member, I know the issue at heart is staffing. I know it is a highly specialized field. I know Ellis is recruiting. I am well versed in the problem, and I am certainly sympathetic. I also know the Office of Mental Health in New York State is responsible for ensuring access to care. From my viewpoint, this is an abysmal failure at all levels. Where does the buck stop? I know the problem. Where is the solution? I have worked in acute care in settings much like Ellis Inpatient. It is a turn and burn environment. It's high stress, it's very demanding. As a social worker, I was required to go to school for 6 years, complete 1,000 clinical hours, and pass the licensing exam. My colleagues often fill these crucial frontline positions, yet we are among the lowest paid professionals. This is just one example of so many structural problems which have contributed to the closure. I'm asking this body, to whatever influence you have, to put pressure on New York State Office of Mental Health to have an actual plan with benchmarks in how Ellis plans to reopen. As an individual, I have knocked on these doors, and I have not been answered. Simply posting on Indeed is not enough. Ellis Adult Inpatient had 2 units 2 years ago. It faced a similar problem of staffing, and that unit never reopened. I really do not want to see the adolescent unit have the same fate. Before I leave you, I ask to look around you. Every day, kids come through these doors. They have a snack, they do their homework, they hang with their friends in a safe environment. Among these kids, I can tell you, there is one or more who are struggling. They may have trouble getting out of bed. They may be getting bullied at school. They may be hiding out in their room. Mom and dad are worried. They try to get them a therapist. The wait list is 6 weeks long. I am an outpatient therapist, and I can tell you that I am full with a wait list. Finally, they reach a point of crisis. They aren't safe anymore alone. They feel hopeless. Mom and dad are no longer worried. They're terrified. What should they do? They don't want to lose their child. To lose them would to lose themselves. They can't breathe. They call 911. They go to Ellis Hospital, our crisis unit. They're scared. All of their belongings are taken. They're in a stark room. They're in a hospital gown. They hear screaming. They can see other adult patients running down the hall. They see security guards. A stranger comes in and asks them questions, very personal questions. They answer them. The doctor comes in and tells them they aren't safe to go home. But there's nowhere to go, so they must wait, and wait, and wait, and wait, days, sometimes weeks, alone, in a stark room, no phone, no comforts, just the hospital staff and the patients, these adult patients who can and are very sick and can be violent. This is the environment our children are in. This is a very real picture of what a child in our community goes through every single day. If you're a parent, some of you are, picture your child. Would you be okay with this level of care? To me, we are only as good as how we treat our most vulnerable. And I was here tonight, Schenectady County does a great job of treating our most vulnerable. But platitudes about the importance of mental health are empty without tangible, sustainable resources. I ask you, this body, to use your influence to ensure we don't leave our most vulnerable children behind. I thank you all for your service and your commitment to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to comment on the privilege of the floor? Anyone else wishing to comment during privilege of the floor? Anyone else wishing to comment during privilege of the floor? Seeing none, privilege of the floor is closed. Thank you all for your comments. And I'll call to order the September regular meeting of the County Legislature. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Mr. Fields.
Present.
Mr. Russo. Present. Ms. Pratt.
Present.
Mr. McGill.
Present.
Mr. Constantine's absent. Ms. Gatta.
Here.
Mr. Frazzoni.
Here.
Mr. Cuomo.
Here.
Mr. Paterni.
Present.
Ms. Ostolich.
Here.
Ms. Villano.
Here.
Mr. Hess.
Here.
Mr. Hughes.
Present.
Mr. McDonald. Mr. Jazinski.
Present.
14 present, 1 absent.
Thank you. Members received copies of the minutes from the meeting held on August 1st and August 9th. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are hereby adopted. The clerk will read the list of reports received.
We've received reports from the Commissioner of Finance, Department of Weights and Measures, and the County Clerk.
Thank you. Committee reports. Legislator Frazzoni with reports from the Committee on Codes, Judiciary, and Consumer Affairs.
Mr. Chair, the Committee on Codes, Judiciary, and Consumer Affairs met on September 6, 2022, and reported to the Agenda Resolution 141.
Thank you, sir. Legislator Hughes reports from the Committee on Economic Development and Planning.
Mr. Chairman, the Committee on Economic Development and Planning met on September 6, 2022, reported to the Agenda Resolutions 142, 143, and 144.
Thank you, sir. Legislator Pratt reports from the Committee on Education and Libraries.
Mr. Chair, the Committee on Education and Libraries met on September 6, 2022, and reported to the agenda Resolution 145.
Thank you, ma'am. Legislator Osterlich with reports from the Committee on Health, Housing, and Human Services.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Committee on Health, Housing, and Human Services met on September 6, 2022, and reported to the agenda resolutions 146, 147, and 148.
Thank you. Legislator Frazzoni reports from the Committee on Labor and Civil Service.
The Committee on Labor and Civil Service met on September 6, 2022, and reported to the Agenda Resolutions 149 and 150.
Thank you. Also, if you would, sir, reports from the Committee on Public Safety and Firefighting.
The Committee on Public Safety and Firefighting met on September 6, 2022, and reported to the agenda Resolutions 151 and 152.
Thank you, sir. Legislator Fields, reports from the Committee on Rules.
The Committee on Rules met earlier this evening. Here we go. And reported to the agenda resolutions 134, 135, 136, 137, 138, 139, 140, and 154.
Thank you, sir. Also, if you would, the Committee on Ways and Means.
And the Committee on Ways and Means met on September 6, 2022, and reported to the agenda resolutions 141, 144, 150, 151, 152, and 153.
Thank you, sir. There are 3 ceremonial resolutions on the agenda this evening. They're resolutions 134, 135, and 136. I'll open the floor for discussion on these resolutions. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, clerk will call the roll on ceremonial resolutions 134, 35, and 36. Members may note any resolution on which they wish to be recorded in the negative.
Mr. Fields.
Aye.
Mr. Ruzo.
Aye.
Ms. Pratt.
Aye.
Mr. McGill.
Aye.
Mr. Constantine is absent. Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Ostrowich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
14 aye, 1 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 137-22. Sponsor is the Committee on Rules. The clerk will read.
A resolution establishing a standard workday and reporting.
Any discussion? Seeing no, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields.
Aye.
Mr. Ruzo. Ms. Pratt.
Aye.
Mr. McGill. Mr. Constantine is absent. Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Ostrowich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
14 aye, 1 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 138-22. Sponsor is the Committee on Rules. The clerk will read.
A resolution regarding a multi-year agreement with Constellation New Energy, Inc. for electricity supply.
Any discussion? Seeing no, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields.
Aye.
Mr. Ruzo. Ms. Pratt.
Aye.
Mr. McGill. Mr. Constantine is absent. Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Ostrowich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
14 aye, 1 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 139-22. Sponsor is the Committee on Rules. The clerk will read.
A resolution authorizing the county manager to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Schenectady County Sheriff regarding special deputy unit.
Any discussion? Seeing no, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields.
Aye.
Mr. Ruzo. Ms. Pratt.
Aye.
Mr. McGill. Mr. Constantine is absent. Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Ostrowich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
14 aye, 1 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 140-22. Sponsor is the Committee on Rules. The clerk will read.
A resolution regarding a multi-year agreement with the City of Schenectady for mechanical repair and vehicle maintenance.
Any discussion? Seeing no, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields.
Aye.
Mr. Ruzo. Ms. Pratt.
Aye.
Mr. McGill.
I'd like to explain my vote quickly. Just want to commend the Board of Elections for continuing to make voting accessible and easier for people to participate and make sure their voices are heard. I think it's important that everybody use their right to vote. Doing this and allowing another easy way to access it is very, very important to me, and I'm happy to vote aye.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing no, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Constantine is absent. Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Ostrowich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
14 aye, 1 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 141-22. Sponsor is Legislator Frisoni. The clerk will read.
A resolution to accept monies from the New York State Board of Elections for expenses related to prepaid postage for absentee ballot and applications.
Any discussion?
Ditto to what I said when I explained my vote. Sorry.
It always happens to one of us. Seeing no discussion, clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Fields.
Aye.
Mr. Ruzo.
I believe that I'm the cause of that, so I too vote aye.
Ms. Pratt.
Aye.
Mr. McGill.
Aye.
Mr. Constantine is absent. Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Ostrowich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Aye. Mr. McDonald. Yes. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
14 aye, 1 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 142-22, sponsors Legislator Hughes. The clerk will read.
A resolution to designate certain county-owned land as permanent open space to preserve and protect the Great Flats Aquifer.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Hughes.
as we know, water and access to water is becoming an increasingly serious issue throughout our country. We are extraordinarily blessed here in Schenectady County to have such an abundant supply of clean water from the Rotterdam Aquifer. It is incumbent on us, and we have taken a number of steps in this direction as a legislative body over the past few years to ensure the quality of that water. This is the latest of those steps. This is property that is really not developable. We are placing it in a category in which it would not be possible to develop it. The land is adjacent to the wellhead site, which is along the Mohawk River, town of Rotterdam. So this is another important step toward protecting our access to what is really one of our most valuable assets here in the county, which is our tremendous water supply.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields.
Aye.
Mr. Russo. Ms. Pratt.
Aye.
Mr. McGill.
Aye.
Mr. Constantine is absent. Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Ostolich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Aye. Mr. McDonald. Yes. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
14 aye, 1 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. At this time, I'd like to recognize Legislator Hughes.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I'd like to introduce proposed local law C of 2022 at this time, which has been included in your packets this evening. As we discussed at our committee meetings last week, proposed local law C provides for the leasing of property on the SUNY Schenectady campus to Northeast Rush LLC for a soccer facility. The county previously entered into an agreement with another organization, but unfortunately that organization was unable to get the financing required to complete the project. We are confident that Northeast Rush will be able to complete the project and that it will be a tremendous benefit both to the college and to the community. Our action this evening would be to schedule a public hearing on this proposed local law, and that public hearing would be held on Monday, October 3rd at 7 p.m. I'm not sure where we're meeting at that point, probably the
In the
county
chamber,
office building,
yes.
but that's where the hearing will be.
Thank you, sir. Our next item is Resolution 143-22, sponsor is Legislator Hughes. The clerk will read.
A resolution calling a public hearing on proposed local law C of 2022.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields.
Aye.
Mr. Russo. Aye. Ms. Pratt.
Aye.
Mr. McGill.
Aye.
Mr. Constantine is absent. Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Ostolich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Aye. Mr. McDonald.
Yes.
Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
14 aye, 1 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. And I will again recognize Legislator Hughes for a motion.
And I make the motion that we lay this resolution on the table.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, nay.
Aye.
The proposed local law is laid on the table. Our next item is Resolution 144-22, sponsors Legislator Hughes. The clerk will read.
A resolution authorizing the county manager to enter into an agreement for the option and purchase of certain real property.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Legislator Hughes.
I know we discussed this extensively in committee last week. I'll be brief. What I would like to summarize. This is potentially a very, very important step forward for both the Hamilton Hill and Vale neighborhoods in the city of Schenectady. This is the county legislature's strong attempt to secure a medium-sized supermarket on State Street at 754 State Street, at a site that we are authorizing the county manager to take out an option to purchase. There will be other steps along the way on this. We need to develop a request for proposals for developers. We have allocated $3 million of our American Recovery Act funds to help to subsidize and bring along the construction of this market. It is a serious need, both in Hamilton Hill and Vale, for access to reasonably priced, healthy food. And over the next year and a half, 2 years, we look forward to bringing this project to fruition. But this is that important first critical step of securing access to a viable real estate site. And that's what we're asking for your support on tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields.
In voting aye for this particular resolution, I would like to say to congratulate all those who have worked to get this resolution to come to a point where the people in the Hamilton Hill, the people in Hamilton Hill and Vale can have, fresh produce inside their neighborhood. So this is important. It's been a long call for many years, and I know supermarkets have come and go, and we hope that this one here, as we work together with these developers, that we will secure something that will make it possible for them to enjoy, just like we do, mobility to the other supermarkets. This will have a shorter access and mobility for those that live in those neighborhoods. So with that, I vote aye.
Mr. Russo. Ms. Pratt.
Yeah, just a quick comment. I applaud this body for their efforts to increase and improve access to healthy and affordable food in the city of Schenectady, and very much looking forward to hopefully many proposals from the developers throughout the community. So very, very happy that we've gotten to this point, and thank you to all who've worked so hard on this. And with that, I vote aye.
Mr. McGill.
I also would like to briefly say thank you to the legislature for doing this. Being born and raised in Vale Village, I understand what it's like to not have food access there. I did come from an environment where we were able to go to the store, but there were many neighbors and many people in our communities who were not able to do that, and it was a little bit difficult for them to have food access. And food insecurity for our families, and especially our youth, is one of the biggest things that we are fighting. And I'm happy for the work that was already done to get to this point, and I'm happy to be able to join this fight and hopefully bring this into fruition for the next 2 years. So as a representative of District 1, particularly Vale Village, I say thank you to this legislature, and I'm happy to be a part of this effort.
Mr. Constantine is, thank you. Mr. Constantine is absent. Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frazzoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
14 aye, 1 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 145-22, sponsors Legislator Pratt. The clerk will read.
A resolution regarding the adoption of a schedule for the disposition and retention of county government records.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields.
Aye.
Mr. Russo. Ms. Pratt.
Aye.
Mr. McGill. Mr. Constantine is absent. Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frazzoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
14 aye, 1 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 146-22, sponsors Legislator Osterlich. The clerk will read.
A resolution to accept monies from the New York State Department of Health for the HIV Partner Services and the STD Intervention Program.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields.
Aye.
Mr. Russo. Ms. Pratt.
Aye.
Mr. McGill. Mr. Constantine is absent. Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frazzoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni. Ms. Osterlich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
14 aye, 1 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 147-22, sponsors Legislator Osterlich. The clerk will read.
A resolution to authorize a multi-year agreement and accept monies from the New York State Office of Children and Family Services to continue the Healthy Schenectady Families Program.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields.
Aye.
Mr. Russo. Ms. Pratt.
Aye.
Mr. McGill. Mr. Constantine is absent. Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frazzoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
14 aye, 1 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 148-22, sponsors Legislator Osterlich. The clerk will read.
Resolution to accept monies from the New York State Department of Health from the Drinking Water Enhancement Grant Program.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields.
Aye.
Mr. Russo. Ms. Pratt.
Aye.
Mr. McGill. Mr. Constantine is absent. Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frazzoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
14 aye, 1 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 149-22, sponsors Legislator Frazzoni. The clerk will read.
A resolution regarding a multi-year agreement with ProAct for pharmacy benefit management services.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields.
Aye.
Mr. Russo. Ms. Pratt?
Aye.
Mr. McGill?
Aye.
Mr. Constantine is absent. Ms. Gatta?
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni?
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo?
Yes.
Mr. Paterni?
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich?
Yes.
Ms. Valano?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes? Mr. McDonald? Mr. Jazinski?
Aye.
14 aye, 1 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 150-22, sponsors Legislator Frisoni. The clerk will read.
A resolution regarding the submittal of claims by the county and acceptance of monies as provided in the New York State Healthcare Workers Bonus Program.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields?
I vote aye.
Mr. Russo? Ms. Pratt?
Aye.
Mr. McGill? Mr. Constantine is absent. Ms. Gatta?
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni?
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo?
Yes.
Mr. Paterni?
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich?
Yes.
Ms. Valano?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes? Mr. McDonald? Mr. Jazinski?
Aye.
14 aye, 1 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 151-22, sponsors Legislator Constantine. The clerk will read.
A resolution regarding budgetary amendments to the capital improvement program for the Office of the Schenectady County Sheriff for upfitting of vehicles.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields?
Aye.
Mr. Russo? Ms. Pratt?
Aye.
Mr. McGill? Mr. Constantine is absent. Ms. Gatta?
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni?
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo?
Yes.
Mr. Paterni?
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich?
Yes.
Ms. Valano?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes? Mr. McDonald? Mr. Jazinski?
Aye.
14 aye, 1 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 152-22, sponsors Legislator Constantine. The clerk will read.
A resolution to accept monies from the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services for purposes outlined in the statewide Interoperable Communications Grant Program.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields?
In voting aye, I would just like to say we're thankful for this particular fund of $1.2 million. And I vote aye.
Mr. Russo? Ms. Pratt?
Aye.
Mr. McGill? Mr. Constantine is absent. Ms. Gatta?
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni?
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo?
Yes.
Mr. Paterni?
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich?
Yes.
Ms. Valano?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes? Mr. McDonald? Mr. Jazinski?
Aye.
14 aye, 1 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 153-22, sponsors Legislator Fields. The clerk will read.
A bond resolution of the County of Schenectady, New York, adopted in September 2022, authorizing various capital projects in and for the county, stating the estimated total cost thereof is $27,934,283, appropriating therefore the amount of $15,900,255, being the sum of the respective appropriations made herein, therefore authorizing the application of $7,374,762 to be received from the state of New York, and $4,543,266 to be received from the federal government, and $116,000 to be received from other sources to be applied towards the cost of said respective capital projects, and authorizing the issuance of $15,900,255 in serial bonds of said county to finance the balance of said appropriations.
Wow.
Mr. Clerk, could you repeat that, Mr. Clerk?
Want some water, Jeff?
That's experience. Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields?
Aye.
Mr. Russo? Ms. Pratt?
Aye.
Mr. McGill? Mr. Constantine is absent. Ms. Gatta?
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni?
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo?
Yes.
Mr. Paterni?
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich?
Yes.
Ms. Valano?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes? Mr. McDonald? Mr. Jazinski?
Aye.
14 aye, 1 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 154-22, sponsors the Committee on Rules. The clerk will read.
A resolution regarding a multi-year agreement with Liddell Marketing LP for Microsoft Computer Services.
Any discussion?
I put that on the easy one.
Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields?
Aye.
Mr. Russo? Ms. Pratt?
Aye.
Mr. McGill? Mr. Constantine is absent. Ms. Gatta?
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni?
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo?
Yes.
Mr. Paterni?
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich?
Yes.
Ms. Valano?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes? Mr. McDonald? Mr. Jazinski?
Aye.
14 aye, 1 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. And that concludes our business for this regular meeting of the County Legislature. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, nay.
Aye.
Legislature stands adjourned. Thank you all.